What's going on, everybody? Back with an awesome video this week. I just wanted to start a new series. So what we're starting is we're going to be answering your questions because we really care about what the students think. We listen to and see all of your comments on our TikTok, on our Instagram, on all of our pages on YouTube, of course. So we wanted to start compiling those questions so we can answer them in this format, like get them all done at once. We could shoot an awesome video and show you guys, that we care. So, keep adding the questions, keep asking us whatever you want to hear. We're obviously pulling the best ones. There's more than we could possibly answer in a normal amount of time, but that considered, let's get into it. So I'm with Sammy. Sammy, what do you want to go by on the video?
It doesn't matter.
You pick. It's your name.
Do Sammy.
Sammy?
So it's a different side of me.
All right, Sammy. So Sammy is social media associate at Curvebreakers and Nick the Tutor. She's been helping us with all of our posts and all that stuff, all the stuff you guys see. So she's going to be asking me, she's compiling the questions and asking me them. I don't know what any of the questions are beforehand. Just want you guys to know that I'm not privy to the questions, so I'm answering them totally on the fly. These are totally unscripted answers, right? So this should be good. We'll see. I'm also going to be doing this live on TikTok as well. So let's get into it. All right, Sammy, first question. Let's go.
Okay. What do colleges think about taking courses at your state university while in high school instead of AP classes?
Okay, so you're saying, so a student is looking at taking some courses, some extra courses for college credit is probably what the person's asking. Yeah, I mean, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, in my opinion. I mean, obviously anything you can do to bolster your application and bolster your academic record, I think is awesome. But at the end of the day, whether you do that through courses at a local college or you do it through AP exams, I'm not sure there's a major preference either way, as long as you're just challenging yourself. I think the main answer to that would be like, whatever challenges you the most would probably be great. And colleges always love to see that. Yeah, it's probably a little bit more impressive if you're taking like 200 level courses at a college, but that might be a little bit unrealistic. But I guess that, we need a little more information to answer that part of it, but that's my answer.
Next question. Should I sign up for the ACT instead of the SAT since the site always crashes?
I'm assuming they mean the website. So just to give you guys some background on that, I think what this student is talking about is that the SAT website registration has been pretty poor. So this student is suggesting that because the registration is poor, they're going to sign up for the ACT. Is that what the question is? Yeah, I mean, I think that's going to be resolved. I wouldn't worry too much about that. I mean, hopefully over time, things get better. Students are able to register for the exams. I think as more students get registered, there'll be less of an overload on the website. So that should be fixed, I would hope. But I don't think it's a really great reason to switch from SAT to ACT. Like, you should be able to just register like next week or something.
Should I worry about my ACT score if so many schools are going test optional?
Great question. I mean, it's all relative. If you're otherwise in line with the school, if you have really awesome grades and extracurriculars and it wouldn't be helpful to add your ACT, then don't add it. I think if you are applying to some top level colleges, that will be more selective. If you're applying to some colleges that I think are going to look at that with some level of scrutiny, I think for students class of 2022 and beyond are probably going to have the SAT requirement come back, an ACT requirement, then you do need to make sure that you have an appropriate score. So I think that's a hard question to answer without more information, but if you're applying to top schools, you want to add everything you can to your application. So I would say if you could do well on it, yes, of course.
Would taking subject tests give me an edge above my peers?
Would taking subject tests give you an edge? I mean, yes and no. Subject tests aren't that useful. Frankly, they are somewhat useful. Some colleges will definitely want to look at those. Some programs, it might be helpful to add that in there. But I think at the end of the day, I wouldn't be too obsessed with the subject tests. If you have the time to do them and you can do well on them, then yeah, sure. But unfortunately, doing well on a subject test means getting a 800 or 770 or above. So could it show a slight leg up? Yeah. Will that make you beat everyone else out? I really don't think so, but that's just my opinion.
When should I start working on college applications?
All right, that's another good one. When should we start working on college applications? I mean, That's a tough one to answer. It really is relative on how much time you have. I think because of what's going on, and since so many students lost their summer camp jobs and their lifeguarding and all their other kind of jobs and stuff like that, if you do have the time over the summer, you should do it over the summer. So I think my answer would be, if you have a lot of time now and you don't have much to do, you might as well start. I mean, there's nothing holding you back. I think if you have a lot of other things to do or you're busy, then maybe you wouldn't start immediately. But I think at the end of the day, it's when you have the time to do it. Now, what I would say is, I do highly recommend starting this now, because I think coming back to school in the fall with possibly half online, half in person, whatever kind of wild arrangements there may be, I think it's going to be really tough to get it all done, especially if kids are back to taking the SAT and the ACT and having like extra stuff to deal with life-wise. I think time may be limited and energy may be limited, so I would start as soon as possible in your, going into your, the summer going into 12th grade. I wouldn't really start like any time before 11th grade. That would just be ridiculous.
If you're applying to college and load up on classes involved with your major, does that help your chances of getting in?
Okay, it definitely helps show a passion for what you're doing. So I guess in that sense, yes, like you can show that you are really interested in a certain subject. You always want to show that spike that you're really doing the best to be all you can be in one area. You're not like a jack of all trades, master of none. So I would say yes, but it's also not going to get you into some kind of crazy, crazy school that you normally wouldn't get into just because you did that. But I think it does help show a passion and a dedication, which I think is great.
Will I be penalized for opting to do pass-fail?
Opting to? So like the choice? Colleges are saying that they're not going to penalize students for that because they just can't. There was an article coming out, or just came out this week in the New York Times about the whole pass-fail grades thing, that grades are basically destroyed. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it depends on how quickly grades come back. If grades come back next semester and we're back to having normal grades, then I think you're not going to be penalized for having one semester of pass-fail during a pandemic, right? But I think if grades are debatable for the next year, like say a lot of schools really can't record grades this whole year because of residual corona and kids going in and out of school, then you really probably would want grades, because there's going to be an uneven playing field. There's going to be kids with grades and there's going to be kids without grades, and it's going to be a long duration. That's what I'm most concerned about. Honestly, I'm very concerned about grades, Sammy, because if kids don't have grades, then how are they going to prove for jobs and for colleges what their skills are? You're a college student, right? Why don't you tell them where you go?
I go to Penn State.
Yeah, so Sammy goes to Penn State, and imagine trying to apply for jobs with no GPA and kind of just pass-fail. You feel that would be tough?
Yeah, it's very tough.
Yeah, so I think we're all hoping that we can get our grades back, because Sammy, of course, has very stellar grades, and she wants to keep those.
If I have subpar grades, but a lot of extracurriculars, can those balance out my lower grades?
All right, good question. Balanced grades. Now look, college is a holistic process. It's not just about grades. But at the end of the day, if you're looking at a certain college and you look at what the 50th percentile of grades are of SAT scores, and you're below the 50th percentile, unless you're freaking Simone Biles, you're not getting into the college. I mean, you know who that is? She's Olympic gymnast, I believe. You need to be absolutely killing it in something, to the point of near fame, if you want to get past your 2.0 GPA and get into a top college. It's just not going to work unless you have something really, really exceptional. If you're just dabbling in a few clubs and stuff like that, that's not really going to get you anywhere, So I just don't think that would work unless you're talking about being a scholar athlete or being famous, or being Instagram celebrity or something like that.
With all of the new dates, will I still have enough time to send my scores to colleges?
Okay, another good question. I think a lot of colleges might amend the dates. They'll give you a little bit more time. I've already heard some are pushing back the early action, early decision deadlines, so you'll have more time for those. So I think, yeah, the answer to that one would be you would have more time. So I think that's going to be part of the plan this year, is that you're going to basically be testing from now until December for most colleges.
Alrighty, and the last question. I got a 9 on my ACT. How should I improve?
Okay, I don't know where that one came from. I mean, the first thing I would say to that student would be you want to understand the strategy of the test. I mean, obviously, I guess in the grand scheme of scores, that would not be the greatest, but to improve it, you probably want to understand how to go about the test. So that student probably doesn't really know how to take the test. And I would imagine for most students I've seen with that kind of score in the ACT, probably running out of time, like not completing the whole exam. So my advice to that student would be time yourself, try to understand the strategies underpinning the exam and learn how to take the exam better, and then your score should go up, and then you can kind of work on it from there. Is that it, Sammy?
Yeah.
All right, so that's the first Q&A. We're answering your questions. We're going to be compiling them every week. I'm going to do this every week along with our new segment, which is going to be education news, which should be coming soon. I'm going to be updating you guys on the news in education world every week. But this is the Q&A segment. Thanks for joining in. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.